Rare minerals, F-35 jets, and cutting-edge weapons. Three very different things, yet they share one surprising connection. They reveal a hidden weakness inside the world's most powerful nation, a weakness that could give China a major advantage in its ongoing trade war with the United States. Over the past few years, tensions between Washington and Beijing have continued to rise. Each side has answered the other with wave after wave of tariffs, a silent battle fought not on the battlefield, but across shipping lanes, markets, and supply chains. But now, China has taken the conflict to another level. Rather than relying only on tariffs, Beijing has moved to restrict the export of several rare minerals, materials that are critical to everything from smartphones and electric cars to F-35 fighter jets and advanced missile systems. It's a decision that hits the United States right where it's most vulnerable. Because for decades, America has quietly depended on imports of these rare elements, minerals that are difficult, expensive, and environmentally challenging to produce at home. In response, the U.S. government has ordered its Commerce Department to ramp up domestic production of these critical resources, hoping to reduce the country's dependence on foreign suppliers. But it raises an important question: why are these rare minerals so vital? And how could they reshape the balance of power in the global trade war between the world's two largest economies? This is our topic, here on USMag. Stay with us. This is USMag. Beneath the surface of our planet lies a hidden power, a group of mysterious minerals that silently fuel our modern world. They're called rare earth elements. At first glance, they might sound unimportant, even ordinary, but these 17 unique minerals have quietly become the backbone of our technology, powering the devices, machines, and tools that define the modern age. From smartphones and computers to hospital scanners, fighter jets, and satellites orbiting far above the Earth, rare earth minerals make it all possible. As experts often say, anything that turns on or off probably contains them. And that's not an exaggeration. These elements include scandium, yttrium, lanthanum, cerium, praseodymium, neodymium, promethium, samarium, europium, gadolinium, terbium, dysprosium, holmium, erbium, thulium, ytterbium, and lutetium. Each one a quiet enabler of progress. They're called rare, not because they don't exist, but because finding them in their pure form is incredibly difficult. Deposits of these elements are scattered across the world, yet extracting them is a challenge that demands precision, cost, and care. Why? Because most rare earth minerals are buried deep underground, often mixed with radioactive materials like thorium and uranium. To separate them safely requires harsh, toxic chemicals and complex refining methods, a process that's dangerous to the environment and expensive to maintain. In other words, these minerals may be abundant, but unlocking their potential comes with a heavy price. They are the quiet force behind our digital lives and the hidden currency of the 21st century's technological race. In 1992, during a visit to Mongolia, China's leader Deng Xiaoping made a statement that would echo through time. He said, "The Middle East has oil, but China has rare earths." More than 3 decades later, that sentence feels almost prophetic. Because today, China doesn't just have rare earth minerals, it dominates them. According to international energy estimates, China now produces around 60% of the world's rare earth minerals and controls more than 90% of global refining and processing capacity. That means, from extraction to purification, Beijing holds the key to one of the most strategic resources in the modern world. Over the last 20 years, China has surged far ahead, building massive infrastructure for mining, refining, and export. This dominance gives the country extraordinary leverage, the power to decide who gets access and who doesn't. But behind this success lies a complex reality. Extracting and processing these minerals is neither cheap nor clean. It's a toxic, expensive, and environmentally hazardous process. Rare earth deposits often occur alongside radioactive elements like thorium and uranium. That means every ton extracted leaves behind dangerous waste that must be safely contained for decades. Even today, The European Union and other developed nations struggle to build permanent facilities to handle this kind of radioactive material. Most rely on temporary sites, stopgaps in a growing environmental dilemma. So, how did China gain this control? Not overnight, but through decades of planning, policy, and persistence. By the late 20th century, Beijing had already identified rare earths as a pillar of national strategy, a resource too valuable to ignore. It poured money into exploration, mining, and refining, often cutting costs by loosening environmental rules and keeping labor cheaper than anywhere else. This long-term strategy worked. While other countries hesitated, China moved fast and soon took command of the entire supply chain. From the mines of Inner Mongolia to the factories producing magnets, turbines, and advanced defense components, China built an empire of minerals. Today, that empire is more than just an economic advantage. It's a form of power, quiet, invisible, and deeply strategic. Because in a world that runs on technology, control over rare earth minerals means control over the future itself. When Washington raised tariffs on Chinese goods, Beijing didn't just respond with words, it responded with strategy. China moved swiftly, placing new restrictions on the export of 7 critical minerals, materials that are small in volume but immense in power. Among them are elements used in advanced defense systems, high-tech electronics, and precision manufacturing, minerals that quietly sustain the modern world. These minerals aren't easy to find, and they're even harder to process. Refining them requires complex technology, specialized facilities, and enormous cost, which makes them some of the most valuable materials on Earth. Now, under China's new regulations, every company must obtain a special export license before shipping these minerals abroad. In other words, no rare mineral leaves China without direct government approval. Beijing's justification, at least in part, comes from international law. Under the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, China holds the authority to regulate what are known as dual-use materials, resources that can be used for both civilian technologies and military applications. Experts at the Center for Strategic and International Studies warn that this move could hit the United States especially hard. Because beyond China, no other nation currently has the full capability to process these minerals at scale. So while the world debates tariffs and trade figures, China has quietly played a deeper game, tightening its grip on a resource that fuels the global economy and reminding everyone that power isn't just measured in currency or armies, but in control over what the world cannot live without. China's latest restrictions could deal a serious blow to the United States. These rare minerals are not just commodities, they are critical to America's military systems. They are used in missiles, radar systems, and a range of advanced defense technologies. According to a report by the Center for Strategic and International Studies, many key areas of U.S. defense technology, including F-35 fighter jets and Tomahawk missiles, depend heavily on these minerals. The U.S. Geological Survey shows that between 2020 and 2023, America relied on China for 70% of its rare earth mineral imports. This dependence gives Beijing a strategic edge. The report notes that China is producing advanced weapons and equipment 5 to 6 times faster than the United States because of its control over these resources. Thomas Kramer warns that these restrictions could significantly impact the U.S. defense sector, slowing the development and production of key systems. And the ripple effect doesn't stop with defense. America's manufacturing industry could also face serious disruptions as delays and shortages flow through the supply chain. It's worth remembering that President Donald Trump justifies heavy tariffs as a way to revive American manufacturing. But now, even that mission faces new challenges. Experts like Dr. Harper caution that manufacturers in defense and technology sectors may encounter delays, shortages, and rising costs due to limited access to these minerals. He notes that rising prices for rare earth minerals are expected, which will increase costs for components used in everything from smartphones to military hardware. And clearly, the administration is aware of the risk. President Trump ordered a national security review to examine the potential threats caused by America's dependence on foreign minerals. The directive states that over-reliance on foreign critical minerals and the products derived from them could jeopardize U.S. defense capabilities, slow economic growth, and hinder technological innovation. In other words, rare earth minerals are not just industrial resources. They are vital to national security and essential to the stability of America's economy. Up until the 1980s, the United States was a global leader in rare earth minerals. American companies were producing rare magnets, and at that time, the U.S. was the largest producer of rare earth minerals in the world. But then China began to dominate the sector, leveraging lower production costs and large-scale operations. Many American companies could not compete and gradually exited the market. Today, the U.S. has only one active rare earth mine, yet even this mine cannot refine or process the minerals into usable components. This shortage is part of the reason why President Donald Trump looked toward Ukraine's mineral reserves, a strategy aimed at reducing reliance on China. Ukraine holds vast underground deposits of rare earth minerals, but many of these reserves are in areas currently controlled by Russian forces. Trump also turned his attention to Greenland. Despite its mineral wealth, Greenland depends on Denmark for 2/3 of its budget. Trump repeatedly stated that gaining influence over this region was critical. He once said, "Securing ownership and control of this large island is one of the most urgent priorities for the United States." These territories could have offered alternative sources for America's rare minerals. But after Trump's aggressive approach, very few viable suppliers remain. Dr. Harper explains, the United States now faces two major challenges. It has alienated China, which dominates the rare earth market, and strained relations with other countries that were once cooperative partners through tariffs and trade actions. He adds, now the question is, in this volatile environment, will these nations still prioritize partnerships with the United States? Control over rare minerals is not just a question of economics. It is strategic power in a world that runs on technology. If you found this insight valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to USMag, and leave your thoughts in the comments below.